When the Zalquin merchant hauler began venting atmosphere into the cold embrace of space, Captain Thrixel did what any sensible being would do. He panicked, slapped every emergency beacon within reach, and prayed to 17 different deities that someone, anyone, would answer before his crew became frozen corpses drifting through the Andara sector. The distress signal pinged out across standard frequencies, a desperate electronic scream that translated roughly to, "Help! We're dying! Critical systems failure! Please respond!" Thrixel watched his bridge crew scramble as sparks erupted from the navigation console. His chief engineer, a four-armed Volteni named Kresh, was elbowed deep in an access panel, all four limbs frantically rerouting power. "How long?" Thrixel demanded, his mandibles clicking with anxiety. Kresh pulled his upper right arm free, clutching a fused relay that was still smoking. "Life support's running on backup reserves. We've got maybe 6 hours before we're breathing vacuum." The captain's scales rippled in distress. "And the hyperdrive? The hyperdrive isn't broken, it's dead, like funeral dead. We'd need a complete replacement core, and even if we had one, it would take days to install." A proximity alert chirped on the sensor station. Junior Officer Plixner's tentacles stiffened. "Captain, we're receiving a response to our distress call." Thrixel's three hearts skipped in unison. "Thank the stars. Who is it?" "Galactic Patrol." Plixner's color shifted to a confused purple. "Unknown, sir. They're transmitting on. Well, on all frequencies simultaneously, even some I didn't know existed. They're asking permission to approach and render assistance." "Granted. Immediately." The view screen flickered to life, displaying a vessel that made Thrixel's brain hurt. It was too sleek, too angular, with lines that seemed to bend light around them. The ship was perhaps a third the size of his bulky merchant hauler, but it radiated an aura of barely contained power that made his primary heart skip. "This is the HTMS reasonable response." A voice crackled over the comm with an odd, flat accent. "We're a rescue and recovery vessel. We've analyzed your distress signal and identified 59 critical failures. Permission to come aboard." "59," Kresh muttered. "I only found 39." The voice continued without pause. "We're dispatching our engineering team. Please prepare for docking. Also, you should probably evacuate Section 7. Your coolant line is about to rupture." Thrixel gestured frantically at Plixner, who immediately triggered the Section 7 evacuation alarm. 3 minutes later, a muffled explosion confirmed the accuracy of the strange ship's sensors. The docking clamps connected with a pneumatic hiss that sounded disturbingly final. Chief Engineer Rodriguez stepped through the airlock and immediately wrinkled her nose. "Jesus, it smells like burnt rubber and desperation in here." Behind her, technicians Foster and Yamamoto were already deploying scanner drones that zipped through the corridors like curious metallic insects. A tall, insectoid alien approached, his mandibles clicking in what might have been a greeting or possibly a threat. Rodriguez had learned not to assume. "I am Captain Thrixel of the Zalquin. You are the rescue team." Rodriguez extended her hand, then remembered that handshakes weren't universal and converted the motion into a casual wave. "Chief Engineer Daniela Rodriguez, reasonable response." "Don't worry, Captain. We'll have you up and running in no time." "You're human." Thrixel's voice carried an edge of confusion. "Last time I checked." Rodriguez pulled out a compact diagnostic tablet that immediately synced with her drones. "Never heard of us." "That's fine. We're new to the neighborhood." Kresh pushed forward, all four arms crossed in what was definitely a skeptical posture. "No offense, but our systems are state-of-the-art galactic standard. Very complex, very specialized." Rodriguez glanced at a tablet and tried not to laugh. "State-of-the-art, huh? Your primary power coupling is held together with what I can only describe as space duct tape. Your warp coils are misaligned by 7 degrees, and I'm pretty sure your life support system is running on firmware that has a Y2K bug." "Y2K?" Thrixel asked. "Never mind. Ancient reference." She gestured to Foster, who was already hauling equipment from an anti-grav cart. "Look, here's the deal. We can patch your critical systems so you limp to the nearest station, or we can actually fix your ship. Your choice." Kresh's scales rippled indignantly. "Fix it. Our systems are designed by the finest engineers in 7 sectors." Rodriguez pulled up a holographic schematic that rotated slowly in the air between them. "Your reactor design is inefficient by about 40%. You're venting waste heat that could be recaptured and converted back to usable energy. Your shield harmonics are out of phase, which means you're burning 3 times the power for half the protection. And don't even get me started on your navigation computer. That thing couldn't plot a course through an empty room." Thrixel and Kresh exchanged glances that didn't require translation. Who the hell are these people? We'll take the full fix, Thrixell said slowly. Rodriguez grinned. Smart choice. We'll have you better than new in about 8 hours. 8 hours? That's impossible. You're right. We'll do it in 6. Rodriguez turned and started barking orders. Foster, start with the life support. Swap out those ancient filters and install proper recyclers. Yamamoto, tackle the power systems. I want those couplings reinforced with actual structural materials, not whatever synthetic garbage they're using now. Captain Thrixell watched in stunned silence as the human engineering team moved through his ship like a well-choreographed dance troupe having a collective seizure. They were everywhere at once, pulling panels, replacing components with equipment that looked simultaneously simpler and impossibly more sophisticated, and speaking in rapid-fire technical jargon that made his translator software give up and just display question marks. Foster emerged from the life support bay covered in some kind of coolant. Chief, the recycling system they had was basically just really expensive air freshener. I've installed actual scrubbers. They'll notice the air tastes less like defeat now. In engineering, Yamamoto had the primary reactor completely dismantled. Kresh stood nearby, all four arms twitching nervously. You're going to break something. Yamamoto didn't look up from his work. Already broke 3 things, fixed 7 others while I was at it. Did you know your antimatter containment was degrading? You would have had maybe another 2 months before catastrophic failure. Kresh's color drained to a pale green. 2 months, give or take. Don't worry, the new containment field will last about 5 centuries. We're using a slightly older design, circa 2380s. Good, reliable tech. Older design, Kresh sputtered. Rodriguez appeared at the engineering bay entrance, wiping grease from her hands. We don't bring the cutting-edge stuff on rescue missions. Too complicated, too much risk of incompatibility. This is our universal repair kit tech, built for reliability and compatibility with just about anything. It's about a century behind our current standard, but it'll outlast your grandkids. Thrixell felt his brain trying to process that statement and failing. A century behind your standard. Well, yeah. Our frontline fleet is running 6th-gen fusion cores and quantum-entangled nav systems. This stuff is 5th-gen at best. But hey, it's still better than 99% of what we've seen in Galactic standard ships. Rodriguez checked her tablet. Speaking of which, we're ahead of schedule. Your hyperdrive will actually be better than it was when you bought this ship. That's not possible, Rodriguez shrugged. 5 hours and 43 minutes later, Rodriguez stood on the bridge with Thrixell, Kresh, and most of the senior crew. Okay, fire her up. Kresh's hands trembled as he activated the main power systems. The reactor hummed to life with a sound that was less struggling industrial equipment and a more contented purr. Every console lit up with steady, clean power. No flickering, no sparking, no ominous grinding noises from the deck plates. Life support is optimal, Plixner reported, his tentacles quivering. Air quality is the best I've ever seen. Temperature regulation is precise to 0.1 degrees. Navigation systems online, another officer called out. All sensors reading. Wait, this can't be right. Our sensor range has tripled, Rodriguez grinned. We replaced your sensor array with something that doesn't require ritual sacrifice to function properly. You're welcome. Thrixell stared at his ship's diagnostics with the expression of someone whose entire worldview had just been gently but firmly disassembled and rebuilt. The hyperdrive, running at 108% efficiency, Kresh whispered, as if saying it too loudly would break the spell. That's theoretically impossible. Only theoretically. Rodriguez handed Thrixell a data chip. That's got all the documentation for the repairs we made, maintenance schedules, technical specifications, the works. Standard warranty applies. If anything breaks within the next 10 years, just flag us down. We're usually in the area. 10 years, Thrixell managed. Our original warranties lasted 6 months. Yeah, well, we build things to last. Rodriguez started toward the airlock, then paused. Oh, and Captain, you might want to invest in better coolant lines. The ones you have are functional now, but they're still not great. We've included recommendations in the documentation. As the human engineering team departed, Thrixell stood on his bridge, which somehow looked cleaner and more organized despite nobody touching anything decorative, and tried to process what had just happened. Sir, Plixner said quietly, what do we tell the shipping guild? Thrixell watched the sleek human frigate detach from his ship and slide away into the black with an almost predatory grace. Everything. We tell them everything. The guild masters listened to Thrixell's report with expressions ranging from skepticism to outright disbelief. Chief Examiner Volrin shook his head, his gill slits fluttering in dismissal. Impossible. No species could possess technology so superior and remain unknown to the galactic community. The diagnostic logs don't lie, Thrixell insisted, transmitting the data. Look at the efficiency ratings. Look at the power output curves. They did in 6 hours what would take our best engineers 6 weeks, and the results are unprecedented. Volrin examined the data, his expression shifting from dismissive to confused to deeply concerned. This makes no sense. These readings suggest technology centuries ahead of current standards. Where did these humans come from? They didn't say. They just appeared, fixed our ship, and left. Another guild master leaned forward. Did they ask for payment? No, they said it was covered under their humanitarian assistance protocols. Thrixell paused. I'm not even sure what a humanitarian is, but I think it means them. The council chamber fell silent as the implications settled over them like a heavy blanket. Somewhere in the galaxy, there was a species so technologically advanced that their century-old backup equipment outperformed the best the galactic community could produce. And they were just flying around, fixing ships. Volrin finally spoke, his voice carefully neutral. Captain Thrixell, you will continue your route. If you encounter these humans again, establish diplomatic contact. We need to know more about them. And if they find us first, Thrixell asked, then pray they're as generous as you claim. Aboard the reasonable response, Rodriguez filed her mission report while Foster and Yamamoto ran post-mission diagnostics on their equipment. Think they'll freak out? Foster asked. Probably, Rodriguez said. That hauler was running on tech that barely qualified as spaceworthy by our grandparents' standards. Poor bastards probably think we're technological gods. Should we tell command? Yamamoto suggested. Rodriguez considered it. Nah, let them figure it out on their own. We're rescue engineers, not diplomats. We fix ships, we move on, and we let the people wearing fancy uniforms worry about first contact protocols. Behind them, through the reinforced bulkhead that separated the engineering section from the military section, they could hear the muffled sounds of the Special Forces team running combat drills. Rodriguez chuckled. The aliens had no idea how close they'd come to meeting a very different kind of human response. But that, she figured, was a story for another distress call. She filed her report with a final notation that had become standard for encounters with Galactic standard ships. Subject vessel brought up to minimum acceptable safety standards. Required extensive repairs. Would not recommend their manufacturer. In the end, Rodriguez reflected, the best tool was useless without the knowledge to wield it, and the best technology meant nothing without the wisdom to apply it. A lesson the galaxy was only beginning to learn. The reasonable response jumped to hyperspace, its wake barely disturbing the fabric of spacetime, already scanning for the next ship that would learn what humanity considered basic maintenance.